It's episode 30 of the Change Guru podcast, and this week we are talking how to flex our confidence muscle. One of the tips that I give is so super cool, and in fact, I'm using it right now. Enjoy the podcast. The Change Guru podcast is brought to you by my books, Be Your Own Change Guru and How to Find Your Purpose After 40. They're available on Amazon, and if you like the show, buying a book is an awesome way to show your support for what I'm doing. And now, here's the podcast.
The Change Guru, listen up. You are the guru of your own midlife change. Gotta take it and own it, don't be restricted by age. What's the number anyway? Live your dreams, don't hesitate. You're the change guru, you're the change guru. This is the time to step up, make your dreams come true. Whatever the change, it all starts with you. Whether it's life's purpose, relationships or career. Whatever the change, it's time to get what you want, what you really want. Make a change in midlife and still look really hot. Listen here, don't have fear. You're the master of your fate. You're the woman of the year. I mean it. Change your life forever. I mean it. It's not too late, no never. I said I mean it. Change your life forever. I mean it. It's not too late, no never, ever. Yeah. The Change Guru. All starts with you.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Change Guru podcast. It's episode number 30. I'm Susan Padgett, and I'm so glad to have you here with me right now. Thank you so much for making some time in your day. We're going to talk about confidence today, and especially how to get it back if it's been ripped out from under you. What led me to think about this idea is that there's been a few instances of I've seen a few different levels of lack of confidence in the workplace and also in people that I know. And so I thought it's so interesting that, something that can really knock one person's socks off can be just another, just like a water off a duck's back to somebody else. So it's so interesting the way that we play it. But, as women, we're especially vulnerable to having our confidence rocked. Like in a study in 2011, it was shown that women, when they surveyed a bunch of managers, half the female managers said they experienced, doubt in their job performance compared to less than a third of men. So there's something going on, probably. Maybe it's our socialization. Maybe it's the way we're raised to be good girls and to just kind of we kind of grow up sometimes bending over backwards, just trying to make mommy and daddy and teacher and everybody happy. And so we're constantly questioning ourselves. I think a lot of it also has to do with wanting to be perfect. That, what's the word that I'm looking for? Having a perimenopausal brain fart moment. Well, it's that wanting of perfection, that elusive, that's the word I'm looking for. It's that elusive thing of wanting to be able to be perfect. And when we can't get that, we doubt ourselves. We wonder how we can get it, how we can buy it, where we can get it, and it just sinks us back even further. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I hope if anything's going on in your life where you feel a little bit knocked off your perch, we can put you back on it again. Now, before we get going, let's do a little bit of business. Have you subscribed to this podcast? If you're liking it and getting value out of it, I would love you to subscribe on iTunes or on Stitcher, or if you're listening to it via my YouTube channel, just hit subscribe. That always helps me to have, gives kind of that thing called social proof. People feel like, okay, if someone else is listening to this or watching this, then it's okay for me to listen or watch. So when you add a like or subscribe, that just helps build my social proof, which is always appreciated by me. If you haven't gotten my books, Be Your Own Change Guru, How to Find Your Purpose, I'd love you to get those. They are cheaper than a life coach, and they really do the job. So if you go over to Amazon, you can get those in print or in digital form. I'm going to be recording an audio version of both of those books, and I'm going to do some upcoming podcasts where I read you some chapters from those books, just to give you an idea of what the audiobook is going to be like. So I look forward to doing those. And get on my newsletter. If you come over to thechangeguru.net, I do like a newsletter every 7 to 10 days where I kind of have like a little private chat just between you and me, and I give freebies and just ideas for keeping you loving life and exploring and learning and growing, and even, just licking your wounds after if anything's happened. I just show you some interesting different ways to get through life in a really positive and awesome way. All right, well, let me first tell you, before we get into the subject, let me tell you my intention. Let's set an intention for the podcast. My intention is for anyone out there who's had the wind knocked out of their sails, I want to be the little puff of air that's going to blow those sails back up. I want to be able to show you that even when we have those moments where we get knocked over, that there's actually a purpose to them, there's a growth to them, they're important for us, and they can be of real value in so many ways. So if anyone out there is feeling down about something that they've gone through, my intention is to show them that they're actually in the middle of an awesome experience that they can take and run with. Maybe you want to set an intention too, like we did last episode. Set an intention for you, what you want to get out of this podcast. Do you want to get some clarity on anything going on in your life that you haven't been able to get answers on? Do you want to look at something in a new way? Maybe just think in your head, for the next half hour or so that I'm listening to this podcast, I'd like to be able to insert your thing here. All right, so take a moment to think about that. Like I said before, intentions are so cool because they mean that we have to take responsibility for our actions and make something happen. And generally, when you set an intention, the thing pans out. Like I've been in my business journal. I've been keeping a business journal every day. And I kind of write in a way, I intend to get this done and that done. Like today, I intended to work on my gray hair book. And so I've gotten that done. I think I also I'm intending to do my podcast today. So just intending to, putting your intentions out there. When I've kind of written down or thought them through what I want to do, I know that there's something that it will feel really good for me to knock that over. All right, let's get to it. I'll tell you there's been little examples of what happens when you lose your confidence. And one way that I often see it is in my volunteer work for the organization called Dress for Success. I've spoken about Dress for Success quite often. I'm a coach there, and one thing that I noticed in working with these women, there's a lot of women that people come to Dress for Success when they are in situations where they need to get back in the job force. And some of those situations are more serious than others, but a lot of them are pretty compelling, like maybe a woman has just gotten out of jail, or maybe she's been left, or there's been instances where there are women who are really come from a very, very wealthy and privileged background, but they've been fully dependent on their husbands. Their husbands leave them, and then through a series of events, they're living in their car. So you got a lot of women, for one reason or another, have had the wind absolutely knocked out of their sails. And one thing that I noticed is that a lot of the challenges that come up for them that wouldn't really rock some of us who have more support in our lives, either through having good people around us or being in a better economic situation. Some of the problems that happen completely rock their world and make it so they're unable to just get back on the horse. Resilience is a really huge issue for vulnerable women, and can't you completely understand it? When you've had everything go wrong in your life, one little thing can be just like the straw that breaks the camel's back. So it's interesting, this subject, because it really makes you have to identify your resilience and your ability to bounce back. But a lot of that is based upon, I think your social situation too, how much support you have through friends and through family, your education level, your finance level, your opportunity to get back in the workforce if you've lost your job. Your opportunity to get back on the dating horse if your relationship is broken down, your opportunity to get your health back if you feel like you've been really, you've lost your confidence in your body. And in a weird way, I kind of got a little bit of dose of that with my injured arm, which I'm happy to say is about 95% right now. It's an absolute fascinating miracle how much my arm has recovered from a fall that I took a few months ago. It blows my mind. I mean, my body is such a miracle. Our bodies are just insanely awesome. But, when I couldn't use my arm, and it just made me feel, there were times where I could feel that my confidence was slipping in my health, because my mind would go to kind of weird places. If I let it would be like, okay, if this is going to happen, what's going to be like if, something happens to my other arm? What's going to happen if something happens to my legs? Or, what if this, that, and the other thing? So I can really appreciate how if you have a health concern, how can also shake your ability, shake your foundation, because our bodies are our foundation. So there's so many ways to feel like we've lost our confidence. But one weird interaction that I had the other night made me realize how, as women, especially if you're over 40 and you're listening to this, how we're especially vulnerable because of a lot of the conditioning that we've had about aging. And especially if you haven't chosen to really start to rethink that, how it can really do a number on your confidence. I was at a bar. It was date night. I was at a bar, and I was waiting for Dale to come and meet me. It was a crowded bar, and so a group of people came in, and a woman. They asked if they could sit next to me, and I was sitting next to a woman. And we were just talking about just general, just stranger at a bar chit-chat, and not 1 minute into the conversation she said something along the lines of, "I'm too old." And it was really weird. It did not match at all into the context of what we were talking about. And of course I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" And then I changed the subject, because I really think when people say that, I get really bored, and I don't ever want to entertain that kind of conversation at all. So I redirected. And then another minute later, and she said it again. And I said to her, because number one, I think what you don't realize is when you say I'm too old, it's in a weird way. The best way I can describe it is it's like if you're smoking a cigarette and you're with a non-smoker. As a non-smoker, I don't really mind when people smoke, because I just feel like whatever, that's your choice. But also because I do so much yoga, and because I am a non-smoker, when I smell smoke or it's really in my face, it just is like, man, come on, this is my fresh air that you're really screwing up here. And that's, to me, what it's like when a woman says, "I'm too old," in a conversation with me, because it's almost like a reverse thing, that if she can say "I'm too old," she actually thinks that if she says "I'm too old" about herself, then she's actually thinking I'm too old when she's talking to me. So it's like a weird way of putting out a bit of like verbal diarrhea out into the world. So when she said it to me the second time, because I was having a really nice time, I was feeling good, I was excited for my boyfriend to come and have a nice little date together. And when she said it to me a second time, I put on my smiling face and I said, "Listen, don't say that anymore. If you say that again, you're going to have to, you can't sit here." And I just said it like that, it's kind of like a joking way, but I meant it. And she kind of said it again, and I just went, "Zip it." And then fortunately, Dale came and saved the day. But after I thought about it for a while, I, thought, something must be going on with her, that she felt like it was a neon sign, that she had this neon sign over her saying, "I'm too old," and something had made her lose her confidence so much that she just felt, whether it was that social situation or was something that triggered it, had caused her to lose her confidence in backing herself, and that she couldn't hold those negative thoughts, either work those through or even hold them inside to a stranger. She had to let them go. And I felt compassion for her because, when you don't feel good, when you're not confident, when you're feeling really vulnerable, it's not a fun place. It's not a fun place to be. So there's so many different levels of losing your confidence, and I think that when we are getting older, we do have that opportunity to go, hey, if I don't get a handle on how I feel about my life and appreciate the years and look at myself as a person not having any limits, and really take everything that I learned about aging and stick it in the trash and then hit empty trash, I'm putting myself in a position where I'm gonna not maybe feel confident. So I feel like the idea of being confident and being resilient, especially when we are being challenged by our old ideas, old being, that's the word. The tips that I'm going to give right now, I think, can help pull you up and out. And I don't think that woman listened to me really when I was telling her, let's not talk about that. You got to move your seat. I don't think she really heard what I'm saying. I don't think she wanted to hear what I'm saying. But how awesome would it be if she did? Because really, if she could work out that what she says is harmful to not only herself but to other people, and she could find ways to address whatever it was that was hurting her, her life could be, really positive and awesome. And she'd probably cringe at the idea of saying that. And just imagine if you can make that change, how the next 50 years of your life would play out versus spending another 50 saying crap like that. So let's talk about the idea of getting our confidence back. The challenge with when you've lost your confidence is that, and other people know it, is that it can become a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I've seen this in the workplace, where when someone does a bad job and the boss, and everybody knows it, and then they either get treated with cotton wools, and then they get treated with cotton wool, or they get put under a microscope, and so that nothing that they can do is right. It can be very challenging if you don't really strategize to get your confidence back in the workplace, because there's a lot of eyes watching you, believing that you cannot pick yourself up out of it. So in the workplace, and I guess we can take this with everything, whether it's breaking up from a relationship and questioning everything that you've held dear, and even in your health, the same thing, is to, when you're going through all these feelings, believe it or not, it's sometimes hard to recognize that your confidence has even been rocked. And I think that's probably what was going on for the woman that was haunted by feeling like she was too old. And again, in the workplace, when people go and they're on shaky ground and they are still trying to hold it together and get through, even though everyone is the self-fulfilling prophecy of them, and people are just expecting them to fail again. They never get their confidence back. So I think there's an important window where you have to be willing to step back and say, I've just had the wind kicked out of me. I need to regroup and get myself together. And that's something that we often completely bypass. We just know that we feel like crap, but we can't really articulate exactly what's gone on. It's really normal to have our confidence rocked. And if you even look up this subject, having your confidence rocked comes up really high in business websites. So it's a really common thing, just like we saw for upper management females who feel these feelings. So when you have your confidence rocked, it's important to take action pretty much right away to at least acknowledge it. These are the times where you want to be able to have someone on your team that you can literally talk to, whether it's a mentor, especially in the workplace. If you've got a mentor, and it's one of the things we do address for success. We're really heavy into talking about resilience and workshopping the things in life and how you actually have options when you have challenges or when you fall off and you get your confidence rocked. So it's really important to get other points of view, to literally open yourself up and be willing to be a little vulnerable, because vulnerable might feel vulnerable to you, but to others it shows great strength and courage, and just to say, hey, I've had my confidence rocked. I need to kind of workshop this. So whether it's with a loved one or with a safe person, and it's even a perfect time to get a coach or get a therapist, or if you have a private Facebook group or something, to just reach out to someone, to a private message, someone who can be really, who is going to have your back and be really, really supportive. But it's important to articulate it and get it out. And on that note, the second bit of advice I have is to find your voice again. One of the things that I did, I kind of alluded to this last week, is when I left my old career, my confidence was really super rocked, because my identity was completely pulled out from under me. I really did not know who I was, and I didn't know how to speak. I was thinking a lot of stuff, but I didn't know how to be able to articulate the stuff that was going on in my head. So I don't know how I found them or why I found them, but I started to go to Toastmasters. And, a lot of people say the public speaking is the number one fear, right up there with death. And it was really scary. I was really nervous. I remember feeling so sick, but what I found was that the subjects that I spoke about were really honest and true. It's a non-judgmental group. It's very, very cheap. I can't remember how much. Maybe it's like a few bucks a meeting. It's a really safe crowd. There were a lot of retired people in there. There were some professionals, but it was just like a real mixed bag of people who I never really saw outside of that room. But they were lovely and so supportive at all different levels. Some were really, awesome speakers. Some were just terrified of speaking. But what I did see was that I did watch, it was fascinating, and I know it happened for myself, but I watched people go from just so deathly shy to actually really being engaging and honest. And I remember one girl in particular who was so super shy. I mean, you just felt for her so much. And over the months, she just got better and better till eventually she had to leave the group because she had gotten a job, because she'd really nailed her job interviews and had gotten a job that she'd always really wanted. So it helps in other areas of your life. So Toastmasters, I'll put a link to it again. I put in the show notes for last week. I'll put it again. It's a really great, safe way to do it. Another thing that you can do to find your voice is to blog, or to vlog, or to podcast. They're all really easy ways of expression and articulating, and I think you can tell by me being an example, whether it's in vlogging or podcasting. You certainly don't have to be very professional to do them. You just literally have to put one word in front of the other. So I think that these are really awesome ways to just express yourself, learn how to put your sentences together, get confident in your voice, get confident in your opinion. They're brave things to do. And in fact, when I started blogging probably about a year or so before I left my other career in television, and I started a blog. I did like a private blog. I did it just for me. I didn't make it public, and I just wrote my own thing because I just wanted to see, how did I write? What did I write when I was just writing about me? What was it like? So you can do that. You can journal online and not have to have people look at it. And I guess you might be saying, like, what's the point in doing that? But I suppose the kind of thrill of it was, okay, what if one day I really like what I'm saying and I want to make it go public? Then I can do this. So there was a little bit of accountability there in writing this private blog that all I had to do was, click a button and it could go public. But those things really helped me find find my voice. It's amazing. I don't think that I would have had the courage to do podcasting today if I didn't stand up in front of strangers and just stand up and be shaky in front of strangers and try to get out some of the words inside my head. This is another thing that I do want to say is this is the time to get a little bit honest about yourself and to do a little bit of soul searching and appraisal, but it's a two-way street. If something's happened on the job or something's happened in your relationship or something's happened in your health or whatever area of your life where your confidence is, there's some room for improvement, is to take an honest appraisal and ask yourself, okay, how could I have done this better? And this comes about it's a little bit after the I've had my confidence rocked moment, because at that moment, that's not the time to be trying to analyze everything, because, there's a lot of stuff going on. And to be honest, there's a lot of emotional stuff, and it almost takes on a physical proportion. When your cortisol's running, you probably have adrenaline, you just got these feelings, you're kind of got a fight or flight system going on in your body where you probably can't sleep, you're wired, you're just really feeling it. So it's better to just say something like, my confidence has been rocked, and just flow with that. But once you've moved through that, getting honest and looking at what you could have done better, but at the same time also asking if you're being too hard for yourself. So it's trying to work out what exactly just happened, but in a really empowering and positive way. I know a woman who's a public speaker, and she's got a policy that after she does her presentation, she's not allowed to criticize herself for 24 hours. She's not allowed to get any kind of feedback. She's not allowed to entertain any kind of negative feedback for 24 hours. She's not going to put herself through that. And it kind of goes back to the reason that I was saying that when you've done something, you're running on a lot of different stressful systems, and it's a time for coming down off it. It's a time for gaining a little bit of equanimity and balance and just getting yourself kind of even keeled. It's not the time to start going after yourself with a red marking pen. But when the dust is settled, it's getting really honest and finding out where do you need to do better. If it's in a relationship that's bitten the dust and you feel like, am I ever going to see anybody again? Maybe this is the time to really question, how do I do relationships? What was my role in this? Where can I get stronger? What do I need to do? Who do I need to be? To really take it and to use it as the feedback for what your next steps are. And the same thing in the job market. I think this is a time, if it's a safe work environment, it's different than a toxic environment. That's a whole other story. But if you're in a relatively safe work environment, or you've got a good networking organization around you, to find a peer that you can really explain to them the situation and just say, hey, what do I need to do to learn more? What can I do to grow this skill better? I think what really pisses people off, especially in management, good managers, is when people don't want to grow and they don't want to learn and they don't want to take an opportunity of falling to see if there's a better way to get back on their horse and to kind of rise out of a situation even better. So I think there are really great managers out there. I think there's a really good network of people that actually want to help you succeed and want to help and actually would be excited about someone who comes to them and says, look, I've had time to think about this. I know I could do this thing that happened better, what can I do to kind of get back into it? How can you help me do that? It's an amazing working relationship. Again, in a toxic environment, in some workplaces, this is a fantasy. It's never going to happen. But then in some, it absolutely will. And if you can't get that kind of thing happening in your workplace, you might get through a mastermind group. There's so many private Facebook groups in different areas of business that you can get that in. So there's a lot of support out there for getting real honest feedback and suggestions for next steps. This fourth tip is so awesome. This is my favorite tip. I'm going to make a video about it soon because I just love it so much, and it's the concept of alter ego and using a totem. Inside all of us is a bit of a superwoman. We have this part of us. It might be our a little fantasy part that knows that we can completely kick ass in the area of our dreams. We know that we're a success. We know how amazing we could be. We know we could deliver. We know we'd be the best girlfriend. We know we'd be so awesome healthy. We know we'd be the best worker. We know we'd have the best business. We know all these things. We have this innate feeling, excuse me, when, in our really positive moments, we know we've got that kind of thing in us. But when reality sets in, we kind of revert to playing small, to being, more of the good girl, or feeling unworthy, or doubting ourselves, not being confident, all that kind of stuff. But what if you could access that superhero part of you and actually use it when you need it? And a perfect example of this type of alter ego is athletes. Really awesome athletes always use a technique of going into showtime mode. So Ronda Rousey, the UFC women's champion, one of the best mixed martial arts fighters in the world, will use her hair. When her hair is long and blonde and flowing, and she's a goddess, but when she's about to go in the octagon, she tightens that hair up into tight braids, and that for her means it's time to turn into a rowdy Ronda Rousey and to completely kick some ass, to completely destroy her opponent. So this is a really common technique. I've seen it. I remember because when I was a producer, you always get the chance to work with really interesting, with pretty elite people, and I had some opportunities in the past to work with athletes, and they'd always be different in your friendship, in your personal things. There'd always be a difference in our personal exchanges and friendship exchanges, but when it was time for them to be the athlete, they'd be completely different people, almost robotic. Some of them almost robotic, just a completely different mindset. And so this is the time when you need to step up. Say you need to step back on the horse in the office, or you need to. You might hear a little noise outside. I live across the street from a really cute primary school. So now they're letting the kids out, and the principal stands outside, and he tells them, moms or dads, when their kid is ready to be picked up. It's very organized. But don't they know I'm podcasting? Hello. So, so if you are, one way you can use this alter ego in everything. So let's say with my arm injury, rather than being, oh, poor me, I have this arm injury, I can think of athletes who've had to come back from the brink. Like I think of Anderson Silva, who's another mixed martial arts guy who had his ankle broken in a the most horrific fight situation I've ever seen. It was like horrible. You watched him get his ankle broken by his opponent. It was so freaking horrible. But he worked all year long and just turned himself into athlete mode and came back for a successful fight. So it's any athlete that comes back from injury, how hard they had to work, how hard they had to train. in love, in relationships, it's thinking about who am I when I'm my best self? Who am I when I know that I deserve to be loved, and how much love I have to give, rather than coming from a fear place or an insecure place. Who am I when I'm that person that doesn't need anyone but is just happy to be alive, doesn't need to be fulfilled with anyone? It's bringing your best self and bringing that when you go on a date. Or from the workplace, it's when you go in as, just the best, believing that you are the best at what you do. And yeah, I might have been knocked out, but knocked down and done something that, that might have been seen as a failure. But here I am, the hero of my own movie, coming back and completely crushing it. So it is like bringing a little bit of superhero. And what you do to really trigger that superhero feeling is to maybe, and this is kind of a neuro-linguistic programming kind of technique, is to have a bit of a totem, have some type of anchor, whether it is a little bit of jewelry, or whether it's like how Ronda Rousey ties her hair up in a braid, or a pendant, or your special leopard print underwear, whatever is your good luck thing to really know that you've got to bring it. Like sometimes I would wear my grandmother had this beautiful turquoise ring that I would always wear. I gave it to my daughter, who is loving it and wearing it and using it as her kick-ass artist totem. She uses it for that. But that's how I would use it, whenever I had something that I needed to do and I needed to be strong and powerful and I needed to access some of my grandma's really strong bits, I'd wear that ring. So it might be fun for your next little purchase to buy yourself something that you can wear. For any of you that have your confidence knocked out, to buy something that you can wear, a little something that feels really special for you that you can wear when you need that little bit of confidence. And it's like Superman putting on his cape. When you do that, when you slip that thing on your finger, it's when you draw and you access that part of you that is absolute badass. That's when the superhero part of you really, really comes out. So these are all awesome tips, isn't it? And the fifth thing is, just like anything in life, is to find the goodness in it. None of us were really brought up to appreciate the concept of making mistakes, or to see failures as really, success turned upside down. I actually did a poem this week. It's funny. I didn't even draw the connection until now, but I did a poem this week on YouTube where I say one of my favorite poems. It's very simple. It's called Don't Quit. And it's really simple, and it has this really cool line that says, success is failure turned inside out. And it's really true. We have been so programmed to avoid failure, to avoid making mistakes, that we are afraid to make any kind of move. And it's really in the mistakes that make us grow. It's like, how many times did Edison try to create a light bulb before it happened? Was it 100? Was it 1,000? Can you imagine if he just, stopped after 1, stopped after 10? Those are the things that got him to the greatness, to the reason why we've got lights today. So our mistakes, in quotes, our failures, in quotes, are really tools for learning and for our growth. So once you can get past the shock of confidence being knocked out of you, and then apply these different things, you're probably going to come to a point where you go, wow, I really, really grew from this experience. I became a better person because of it. And I just even had a kind of a flash of myself. I could never have imagined 5 years ago that here I'd be, doing a podcast, talking about something that I was so needing 5 years ago. And that's because, now here I look at it, it's like, thank goodness that I'm able to tell you something that I personally experienced, how awesome it is that I'm able to share it and break it down and see the things that really helped me get through it. And man, how I wish I could have sat down with that woman from the other night and just had to talk about really what was going on, and to be able to share this all with her. Oh, I hope somehow one day she finds what she needs to get that confidence back. It does take a little work, doesn't it? I think that if we choose to not deal with it, if we choose to not address it, that can stall us out. I think it is for the brave. It's funny, to get your confidence back, you have to be confident. You have to kind of access that type of resilience that we all seem to have, but in various degrees, various levels. And the curious thing about it is to really ask yourself, when you're in the middle of, when you're realizing that your confidence has been rocked, it's the perfect time to say, how resilient am I? Is this going to knock me over and, lay me down for a long time? Or is this something am I going to be able to move through this? We all have really different levels, but I also think that resilience begets resilience. You get through one thing and then you are able to move on to the next thing, and you're maybe a little bit more willing to even to take another chance, to keep trying, because your muscle's strong. You see, it's like, but if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Like the most awesome thing that I learned about my arm is that I know exactly how to recover. I know how to be in the moment with the experience, how to get the most out of it. I really learned so much about it for myself, and it actually has given me a lot of confidence in my body and how it works and how it needs to be treated for the future. I feel really protected and strong because of what I've experienced, even when there were times when I felt shaky about it. Right, so that's my ideas and tips for helping you get your confidence back. And I'd love to know if anything that I've said resonated with you. I know for me, I love the alter ego. It's something that I kind of have to use. Even when I do a podcast or when I do a vlog, I have to kind of access that superhero part of me, because there's a part of me also that's kind of shy. And just to be able to talk, I have to bring out that part of me that wants to communicate, that wants to express and share and tell. So that is, part of me activating that alter ego. And, I really love the idea of finding the totem, finding the thing. If you need something like my grandma's cool turquoise ring, or you need something that means something to you, that all you need is to see that, to feel that thing, and boom, you become Superwoman. Boom, you're it. So those are my awesome tips for getting your confidence back. I'd love to know if any of them work for you. Why don't you post a comment over at my website at the changeguru.net, or post comments on Facebook. If you like the show, leave an honest review over at iTunes. That helps me out so much, and I really appreciate it very, very much. Be sure to say hi to me on any of my social, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, and get on my newsletter over at thechangeguru.net. Okay, I think that's it. My son sent me a little text saying he's coming over to my hood in a bit, so I'm going to help him go do a little bit of shopping. Can't wait to see him. In the meantime, listen, have the best week. Thank you so much for listening. I really, really appreciate it. Take care, and I will see you next time. Till then, bye for now.